Good morning, everybody. Got your coffee? I got mine. It's a little cool this morning. I think I'll put hats and gloves in the pantry this morning. Thanks to Nicole, we have those now. Listen, I'm going to warn you first off that a lot of people are not going to like what I'm going to say this morning, but it won't be a lie. And this is what I call an accountability video, because nobody, they always, they don't do well. They don't. And the reason why accountability videos do not do well when we talk about how we as a community, especially Black people, need to do better is because, like any other group of people, nobody wants to be held accountable. You know what I'm saying? People just do not want to be held accountable. And they're not able to look at themselves and their actions in the clear light of day, with real honesty, and make the necessary changes. It takes a person with strong character and a backbone to do that kind of work. And most people are just incapable of it. And that's the truth. And I'm going to tell you, the thing about Black people that I do not like is I don't like the fact that when it comes to accountability, that is when we are in our most victim state of mind, for lack of a better way to put that. And what I mean is, I think that a lot of Black people think, now when white people say that Black people play the race card or we play the victim, that's obviously just them trying to avoid accountability for their actions, for their racism, for the way that they treat Black people. But no, that's not really what it is with Black people, in my opinion. When we play victim, it's when we need to be held accountable and we don't. And because of the way we have been treated, because we've been treated horribly in this nation, I think that a lot of us feel like we get to escape accountability because of the way that we have been treated. Like, I'll give you an example. Like when, like right now, P. Diddy is going through this whole thing. And remember when R. Kelly, when we had to deal with R. Kelly, and then it was Cosby, and then you get Black people that say things like, well, look at what Epstein is doing and look what Trump is doing. And those are valid. It's a valid argument to say that white men do not get met with accountability and consequences at the same rate or with the same level of intensity as Black men. But that's a different conversation, because the conversation when it comes to Black people being met with accountability for our actions should never be Black people shouldn't be met with accountability for our actions because white people don't. That's not the answer. Because it takes a long time for white men are not do not experience the same rate of persecution as Black men. It doesn't mean that Black men and or Black people should be let off the hook for committing heinous crimes, especially against other members of the Black community. Miss me with that bullshit. So that's just like kind of an example of it. Last night I went to this community meeting, right? And they gave out so many flyers. It was just so overwhelming. I guess they hit on all the important points. But one of the flyers said that they were getting ready to do a community cleanup. And I thought to myself, here we go. I remember when we would organize these in Detroit. And here's the thing that I always try to say, as a member of a community, is cleaning up the community is a good thing. We all know that's a good thing, because if the community is full of trash, somebody needs to clean it up. Great. That's not what I'm not saying that it isn't. But what I'm saying is that's only a part of it. That's only a part of it. The other parts of it is that you have to give out the education along with that information. You have to tell people why it is important that they keep their communities litter free. And that means that you have to talk about things like systemic racism and environmental racism. And that information isn't being handed out on those flyers. They're not being taught in our schools. And most importantly, they are not being taught in Black households. They're not. How we sit and we have kitchen table talk with a cup of coffee, and you know how the kids running around mad in Black folks' business. But we never have discussions about how important it is, from the oldest member of the family to the youngest member of the family, how important it is to find a trash receptacle. And trust me when I tell you, it really is. I am not someone that considers myself an environmentalist or a tree hugger or someone who's, radical when it comes to recycling, but I have some education about how vitally important recycling is, and how important it is that we do not throw our trash out in the streets because of where that trash can end up. It ends up in drains. It creates blockages. When you see, when they were at the meeting and when they complained about drains being clogged up and water going down the street, why do you think the drains are clogged up? The drains are clogged up because people will walk through their own communities and they will throw trash out in the middle of the street. They will throw it out in their cars, clean out their cars. For whatever reason, I don't know why so many of us Black people treat our communities, our inner city communities, like they straight up trash cans. And the white people do it too. White people drive through our communities. They throw shit out of their car. Everybody treats the Black community, including Black people, like our communities are trash cans. But here's the gag. When Black people drive through white communities, they don't do that shit. When we walk through white communities, we don't do that shit. And as hard as it is to say, and as hard as it is to admit and sit on it, sit with it, because I'm not lying. A lot of us, and that's the internalized racism playing out. And it plays out in so many different ways. If you are not a conscious person, if you are not woke, and if you don't see what you're doing, you respect them more than you do us. You respect their communities more than you do ours. You value what they have and not what we have. And that's just the truth. That's the truth. Every time you drive along the streets of a Black community where you see people that look like you, and you throw your cigarette butts out in the street, you throw your trash bags out in the street, you throw your empty cans out in the street, and you treat your community like a trash can, that is you saying Black people ain't worth shit. Black people ain't shit. Black communities ain't shit. Black neighborhoods ain't shit. I ain't shit. My neighbors ain't shit. The kids in my community ain't shit. Storm drains get blocked up. That trash ends up, a lot of it making their way into lakes and rivers and streams where people fish for food. It ends up in our oceans. It doesn't just evaporate. Somewhere down the line, that shit can cause a problem for someone. And because of environmental racism, our neighborhoods and our communities don't get the same resources that white neighborhoods do. When there's a street in a white neighborhood that needs to be fixed, it gets fixed like that. Black people are paying tax dollars too. I pay property tax too. We pay taxes too. Why aren't we getting the same services? Street sweepers in white neighborhoods, seldom see them in Black neighborhoods. And we compound those problems by throwing our trash all around. Being poor even, doesn't mean that we have to be nasty or dirty or filthy. I don't know how those things got lumped together, but it doesn't mean that. Having limited resources doesn't mean, it means that you make the most of the resources that you have. It doesn't mean that you do shit to compound the problems that resources could prevent or help or take care of, when those resources aren't there. You have to explain to these things to the children. When I was growing up, we had commercials that talked about not littering America, because America was our home. The planet is our home. Global warming is why we can't throw our shit out like that. When so many people do not connect those dots. When we just experienced Hurricane Helene, and then shortly after Hurricane Helene, it was Hurricane Kurt, and people was like, oh my God, look at all this debris. Where the fuck you think the debris came from? It wasn't just buildings and trees that came down. It was all the trash that y'all throw out in the fucking street, in the fucking neighborhoods, in the fucking planet, in the fucking earth, in the country that you live in, and in the country that you live in. That's what it is. And it eventually becomes a problem. And it becomes the biggest problems for people who lack the most resources. And that's black people. That's just the truth. I hate it's the truth, but it's the truth. And I know that black people know better in their core, because like I said, when you walk down them white streets, you don't do it. When you drive down those white streets, you don't do it. But you do it to your own neighborhoods and your own communities. And that's why so many of our communities look like a fucking trash can, because you treat it as such. You do not, in your heart of heart, in your core, believe that black communities deserve dignity and respect and beautification. Black people are as deserving as anyone else. And a lot of you don't truly believe that. And that is why you must work to deconstruct your internalized racism, so that you can see what you do. That's it for me today. If you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee, I'll leave my Venmo and my Cash App down in the comments. If you would like to donate to our wonderful library, I'll leave the link to our wish list down in the comments. Thank you so much. Have a good day.